be able to play in any condition. And it just sounds so simple. And this comes through preparation and the ability to be nimble and admit that this isn't working. We're good at being reactive. We're one of those companies that reacts well, but where we now, the way we up our game is being proactive. And now we got to spend as much time fixing problems. We got to spend as much time preparing to avoid those problems and those pitfalls going forward.
What is up, Modern Commerce listeners? I want to show you an amazing app we've been using called Triple Whale. You can check it out at trytriplewhale.com. It has all of the business health metrics and growth metrics you could possibly need all in one place, right? So everybody can get on the same page. This has revolutionized our ability to help grow brands and collaborate with brands. Everyone can get on the same page on the most important metrics. So if you're a media buyer, you can come into this and you can just use this little pin icon right here, and you can pin to the top the most important stuff to you. So if I'm a media buyer, I might have ROAS, I might have ad spend, I might have new customer ROAS, right? But if I'm an owner, maybe those things aren't as important to me. Maybe I just want, net profit, show me the net profit, show me the sales, right? Show me the number of orders. So everyone on the team can get in line, get, on the same page of what the most important growth metrics are, because it's different for every brand. So grab Triple Whale at trytriplewhale.com, use it. I promise you it will make your growth path far more clear, and enjoy this episode of Modern Commerce.
Welcome back, Modern Commerce. You're here again with Casey and John. As always, we're doing the next installment of our How to Build a Brand series, and we've got some special guests along with us today, but I'm going to go ahead and kick it on over to my man, John, to introduce them for us. John, take it away, man.
Thank you. Today, we have some amazing guests, some guys who've been able to achieve incredible growth with their brand. So we have Danny Winer and Jason Panzer. Danny is the co-founder and CEO of Hexclad, and Jason is the president. Guys, thank you for being here today. Give maybe a little intro, background on yourselves, and a little background on the brand, maybe.
Okay. Well, John, Casey, thanks for having us. Real briefly, our co-founder, Cole McRae, and I started Hexclad around 2015. We had done another product right before that, enjoyed a little bit of success in the juicer space, but then could no longer compete with the juice store on every counter or every corner. So we kind of had to pivot a little bit, and we'd both been experienced in the cookware market. We were very passionate about kitchenware products. I grew up with all my family members in the restaurant business back in Buffalo, New York. So every cousin, every aunt, uncle, grandmother. My grandmother was the first female head chef in the 1950s in Buffalo, New York. So this was something that myself and my family were really passionate about. I originally came from trying to be in the entertainment business and kind of backdoored my way into the kitchenware space. And essentially, what kind of brought us into the cookware arena was I didn't want to get involved in anything if we weren't being a game changer. There wasn't much innovation in cookware. Really, Jason's heard me say it. If the last thing I really saw innovative was before I was born in the 60s when Teflon cookware started coming up. Other than that, it was a cast iron skillet, stainless steel pan, and then this nonstick, and kind of nothing was going on. And fortuitously, on one of my many, many trips to Asia, I ran into the gentleman who invented this hexagon laser etching technology. And it's one of those defining moments in your life where you go, wow, if I had made a right turn instead of a left turn, or if I've been looking at my cell phone, my life would be different. And it was one of these things. Actually, I was going to a meeting, and I go to walk into this hall, and there's 30 Chinese soldiers blocking my way. And I'm like, and they're like, Xi Jinping is here. So the president of China is there to cut a ribbon. And because he was there blocking my way, I got circumvented down into some basement. and met this lonely guy from Korea who had a booth set up, but didn't even know the technology he had. And we started talking about these hexagons, and they were making mainly Korean barbecue plates. And I'm like, I've been in cookware. This could be a game changer. And in 2015, we started tweaking the product. We started making it for the Western market. We tried different weights, different handles, putting our hexagon design on the outside, because I knew from my previous job that people hate messy exteriors on their pan. I had walked around and I'd seen cookware, like now there's all these cookwares in the D2C space that weren't around. And essentially I saw hundreds of booths with all those type of cookwares, and I with no interest in them because there was nothing really unique outside of maybe this one's powder blue or this one's got a green nonstick. So this to me was something really exciting, and it was exciting enough that Cole and I, we dumped everything. We didn't want to raise outside money. We'd already been somewhat successful on our own. I cashed out all my retirement accounts. I mean, I used 90% of everything I had in the world. Cole was maxing out, applying for credit cards, to fund the company. And, we started selling slowly in 16, and every person we talked to said we were crazy. They're like, it's too competitive, the cookware space. And they're like, nobody will buy it D2C. So nobody wanted to help us. And essentially, every time we talked to a consultant who was like, oh, well, we think cookware will only sell $100,000 a month online. We're like, okay. And then we'd sell 200 and we'd be like, okay, we need a different consultant, obviously. And we didn't really want to be brick and mortar centric. We thought we'd have one strategic retail partnership, and we'd already done some work with Costco, which is a great place, obviously. But we also felt because our product was unique, it needed its story told a little bit, which Costco provides that. Costco loves the idea. You come there, you get a cheese sample. They do a little demo and maybe you get a sample there. So it kind of fit a new brand that had a really unique look, but people kind of needed to understand why this look made the pan better. And essentially we kind of took off like a skyrocket then, both in Costco, where we became like the top selling cookware there, and then online. Each month got better and better, and each year got better and better. And essentially, since 2018, as fast as we can produce it, we've been able to sell it, knock on wood.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our story, my story. And that doesn't really tell a lot about Jason, because he's been really instrumental since he came in 2020, helping us achieve that next level, like somebody really highly competent, highly motivated, and ambitious with the best interests of the company in mind.
Yeah. So I'm going to pause here, Jason. I think, I'd like to get your background and how you got involved in this in a second. But a couple of things that I just kind of want to maybe ask some questions about is, so first of all, I think I'm going to ask a question, but then one thing that I think is important to note up front about Hexclad and a large part of you guys' success is something you've hinted at a little bit, is that you truly do have a unique product. You truly do have a differentiated product. It's not the same thing manufactured, with slightly different coloring or something like that. You have a unique product, and that's important. And we'll talk about what that is, and you can give the actual here's the value of the value prop of Hexclad in a sec. But one thing you hit on a second ago, and it's something that everybody has different risk tolerance, right? And you said you kind of emptied your retirement accounts into this. You maxed it. You guys kind of made a really, really big bet on this, you and your co-founder. I'm curious, is that is that kind of your MO, or was that a big deal? No, yeah, I don't make big bets like that. Would you ever advise somebody take that big of a risk to start their brand? And if yes, or if no, why was it, this bet that you were so confident in? You know what I mean?
I mean, it's a really good question. I think if I had to tell my niece, somebody I love. Like what my advice is, don't I want you to have the passion that you would be willing to risk everything for it, but tread very carefully in this space. Like there were a couple things. I had obviously confidence in myself and my abilities, but I believed in this case we had a truly game-changing product, and I knew this space quite well. So that gave me a greater level of comfort, but it was scary. You know, I'm not 25 years old. So if I screwed this up, like at that point, somebody who's always very prepared, I didn't really have a plan B. I don't know. I'm going to become some kind of salesman. So I think
you would have been couch surfing if it didn't work, right? Probably would have wound up couch surfing because that would have been it.
Yeah. I mean, so my advice would be, you have to have the belief in it to be willing to do that. I think if you can find some type of partnership or funding that supports your philosophy and the way which you want to grow this business, then do that. But I also the only introductions I got at the time were not people I was comfortable going into business with. And I didn't want to be saddled with somebody who didn't share my vision, because I'll tell you, and a lot of people say this, but it's not always true. I was never in this for a cash grab. And I feel like a lot of D2C businesses are there for that reason. And I know some of my competitors are. Our company will be around in 50 years. That's our goal, maybe 100 years. We're here for the long run with our customer base. It's not just about getting rich quick right now. It's about, I want to be in your kitchens for the rest of your life, even past mine. So, sort of my answer there, it is rather risky, and everybody's got to look in the mirror and decide how much they believe in themselves and how much risk they can tolerate.
Yeah, and what the true risks are, right? So, I mean, it sounds like you knew you had something unique here. Like, you knew this space, and you knew this is actually a very great and hard to replicate product in this space. So you knew that you actually had a very real moat, which is hard in business to have a true moat. And then, I don't know if at that point you already had the relationship or the in to Costco, but potentially if you did, you knew you at least had a channel or a way to get it in front of people potentially, and maybe you didn't. But knowing what things you do have in your corner, I think is helpful, right?
There was still a ton of risk in it though, right? Knowing that believing in the product was one thing,
people actually
and knowing the market was one thing, and having a relationship with Costco was there. But actually, it took some time to convince Costco to take the product, right? And they took a chance, and it wound up being a massive success because our partnership with them just grows, by the day, right? Yeah. But that knowing that belief in the product was huge. But still, your own belief isn't always right. So it was a real big risk.
And that's the thing. So I think that I'm a little more conservative. I don't know if I would ever bet the farm, right? Like maybe I would, but I think that most founders have that belief in the product. And then sometimes from an objective viewpoint, you can just kind of see but it's not really that great. Or what, why do I care about it? Or why does the consumer care about it? Right. So I get what you're saying, right? Because you're just because I understand this space and I can see how special it is, but will your average everyday person walking through Costco or scrolling online understand how special it is? Yeah, that's incredible. So then, Jason, tell us about kind of how you got involved here.
Sure. Yeah, I'll try to do this real quick so we can hit more of the fun, substantive stuff. But it's just about my 2-year anniversary with Hexclad. I've known Danny probably for 10 years before that, and Cole McRae, co-founder of Hexclad, who couldn't be here today. I know him for 25 years, and I was kind of a strategic advisor to the company, even when they set it up back in 2013 for the juicer business. And my career path was, I started my career as an M&A lawyer at Skadden in New York, big law firm. Then I went into the operational side. I was a CFO of a couple of tech companies. And then I became a banker, and I was a tech and business services banker focusing in two verticals, fintech and marketing tech. And back in mid 2019, when I was talking to Cole and Danny, and I was just blown away by how well the business was doing, I was like, hey, you guys are really onto something here. And, and they were profitable from day one. And I was like, you don't see companies like that, right? Profitable from day one, because they had to be. And so I said, you've got something real here. Should we raise some money? And we kind of thought about it, and we would sort of, we would come back to that conversation from time to time. But then, the pandemic hit, and the business pre-pandemic was excellent, but, clearly the business, everyone was home cooking, right? So, we benefited from that considerably, but, it was a time you talked about, betting it all, right? They actually, Danny and Cole bet it all twice, because they bet it again in April 2020 when Costco basically shut down road shows. And we were sitting on all this inventory, and I remember, because I was up in Northern California and these guys were down here in LA, and I was talking to Cole every day, and they're like, all right, well, we're just going to go all in on the D2C, right? We're just going to crank the spend, and we're going to basically, go all in again. And it worked. And as that was happening in April, I was like, hey guys, you know what? Investment banking is fun, but it'd be more fun, to help you. And, my more traditional background, we really all complement one another. So I've been here for 2 years, and basically I came in first on the financial side just to, make sure we were managing the growth properly, because the growth was unbelievable. But it sort of got really, with my marketing tech background and just in general, right? Having a product that you can touch and feel, as opposed to moving money around, raising money and selling companies, which is what I did back when I was a lawyer and a banker, was super exciting. And I never thought that I would become, somewhat of an e-commerce, I don't want to say expert, but at least, knowledgeable enough to manage some really great people who work both here and on an agency side. It's just been, an incredibly fun 2 years. And I think the last thing I'll say is, we're sitting here in the middle of our warehouse right now. You can see behind us, those are going to Amazon FBA, those pallets. Danny and I, we've done everything from, unload containers, and all throughout the pandemic, we've been here in the office, and it's kind of almost like otherworldly, where everyone we talk to is on a Zoom call and no one's coming to the office every day. And this guy's been stuck with me every day for 2 years.
We have a common law relationship.
Community property in LA.
Yeah. So that's okay. Yeah. Let's get into kind of some of the stuff that's gone on over the last couple of years, because you launched 2016, you started selling slowly. It seems like it's like 16, 17, 18, 19, things picked up both on D2C and in Costco. D2C, so let's 16 through 19, was D2C largely driven by paid traffic, Facebook ads? Was that kind of your main driver of D2C, or what were your kind of primary drivers pre-pandemic?
In the beginning, so like, a paid social with, mainly Facebook and Instagram. But what was really nice, as like nobody got a cookware ad on their social media feed in 2017 and 2018, really. And we started it during really heavy in that point. And by heavy, I mean, at one point we started out, we had like 2,000 a month to spend, and that was it. But what was nice was, because we started this thing with Costco going, we noticed, like, as we're tracking, like, we would be at a Costco, just say in Omaha, and we'd finish 10 days in Omaha at the Costco. And then we'd notice a bit of traffic that was coming from, like, the people that missed us. Right. And so we noticed some of that. So we felt like in Costco, it's like we're doing a social media demonstration, except we're doing it live, and you're doing it all day long. And every time you're doing it for 3 people, 10 people, 15 people. So that kind of worked hand in hand with our early strategy for our paid social spend. Now, we really there was no playbook for us to really follow in this space, because we were the biggest problem was we were going through challenges that were based upon the fact that we had to educate somebody not only on our product, we had to educate them on purchasing this type of product for the first time, sight unseen. And it was kind of like, this was when Casper was first, like, came to my attention. I'm like, who's going to buy a mattress, without lying? You got to go to the store and lay down and roll around on it. But I bought one, and, and I'm like, I'll try it out. Nobody hates shopping in a store more than me. So, so we kind of took that idea around it and then tried different things. Were the recipes working? Okay, yeah, people watched, but they didn't click through. Was it just our really cool photos? Like, we tried to, we're not getting, in the beginning, we weren't getting engagement. And I remember the first thing that we did that got like a significant amount of engagement was took a really cool photo. Our pan's very sleek looking, and we just put the line under it: "Who said cookware can't be sexy?" Mm-hmm. And now I got like old grandmas who are like, "Why do you have to make everything about sex?" And but people were like, hey, yeah, people are finally like commenting on it, and it was through this trial and error that we were able to find the stuff that we're going to get people to either visit the site. How long are they staying on the site? Will they add anything to their cart? If they don't, what the challenges that everybody has in D2C, we just, had to do it in a way that fit this new model for home kitchenware.
Yeah, and one thing to add to that, guys, is that, the business was always an omni-channel business, right? So the Costco relationship is a beautiful one, and because it really helped us kind of hone the pitch, why it's special, and getting out there in front of people. Like Danny said, it's a product that you kind of have to touch and feel. Now, people see how successful we are. They see what's going on, and then they're in, right? But back then, that was that omni-channel strategy differentiated us, and frankly, it helped a lot because right away it was successful in Costco because it was a great product. So it was almost like
you had the cash to go through that trial and error.
The D2C was always on the agenda, but it was like, okay, the company's real busy killing it in Costco, right? And with very good unit economics, right? So it was like, okay, we want to grow this D2C business, but we're kicking it, we're really just crushing it in Costco. And then Q4 2019, the team finally had the time to focus more on the D2C because the roadshow was really, kind of running nicely. And that's when it really got going. So Q4 2019 was like the breakout of the D2C business. And then, so pre-pandemic and all that, excellent numbers in Q4 2019. But then, of course, April 2020 was a game changer for a lot of companies. And I think what's really exciting to me about us today is that we really haven't seen, and I'm sure you want to get into this, John, but we haven't seen what other companies have seen, which is like they got that pandemic bump, and it's like, uh-oh, right? Whereas I feel like we've got these multiple rocket boosters that we're still tapping into.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So let's step through this a little bit, because I did want to go like, okay, what does 2016 to 2019 look like? It sounds like it was largely driven by Costco in the early days, with D2C, you sort of moving along, getting better and better at D2C, right? Did Amazon get involved at some point in that period, 2016 to 2019?
Look, you know what? Let me give you like 15, 20 seconds on each of those years, and I'll tell you. Like 16 was, we got the first product delivered here in like October, like really that we could start selling. And we were figuring out how to sell it. Like I knew no matter what we did, we had to have a sales pitch, right? Whether I'm going to sell it to you over a phone or at Costco. We weren't in Costco then. And we went looking for opportunities to get in front of people. And we booked some like home shows down at the convention center and things like that. And we were able to start developing this demonstration of like pushing the hot buttons. What's going to intrigue people?
What do we say and show?
Yeah, exactly. So, and then in 17, we had some issues with supply chain actually. And so it was very slow in the first half of 17. The second half of 17, we were kind of perfecting this and we got it into Costco. And we started in Costco in November of 17. And the very first event, we didn't know, I was hoping, we were there for 10 days. We were hoping to do about at least $15,000. We wound up doing 40,000 in sales in those 10 days. And we were so like that period of not having inventory in the first half killed us because we had no revenue, obviously. And we didn't want to we were so close to not needing to take outside money and we didn't want to do it. And I'll tell you, it was at that point, we couldn't afford to ship the product prepackaged in its full set. So we had to send them over in individual boxes, go in Cole's backyard with a tape gun the bottom, and then assembly line it. We'd get our friends, we'd buy pizza, and we'd be like, throw in a 12-inch pan. And we were like, our hands were covered in blood from like paper cuts of closing all these boxes. We'd have to like clean the blood off the boxes and then ship them to Costco to sell because it was that close. But it skyrocketed at that point. And just with Jason's point about like saying about the Q4 of 19, we were doing better and better online, but it was a lot of like moving chess pieces around and I got to retreat now. That one's working. This one's not working. But the great thing Costco kept providing for us was immediate feedback. It was like a focus group and to know what was important to our customer, what they were responding to. And what we did was finally the thing that kind of triggered our online sales increasing in 19 was I had flown to Frankfurt for the Ambiente show, which is the biggest European like houseware show. And I came back and I flew back and I was exhausted and I met this really interesting older business guy. He was imparting his wisdom and we sat up for hours drinking whiskey on the plane and it was a great meeting. And then the guys who were filming our content were like, listen, we need to film a little video for a buyer to show them the product. So I show up at their little studio. I don't even have clean clothes. I haven't showered. And I'm like going through my laundry in my suitcase. I'm like, okay, I'll wear this shirt. And I go, let me put on this vest to cover the wrinkles on my shirt. I put a vest on and I do the Costco demo. And they take that thing and they're like, oh, wow, this is really good. And it was stunned on no money and that wasn't even lit. Yeah. And I'm like expecting them to send it off to the buyer. They wound up cutting it and start running social media ads. And then cut to a few months later, it's got millions of views. And it really blew things up. And I'm like so embarrassed because all my high school buddies are like, dude, you look like shit. You look, strangers are writing, is this guy hungover? And in the comments. And I'm like, oh my God, I can never.
I'm still drunk.
But that day, that ad, was the formula for basically our best performing ads. It's that one. And then there was sort of a redo of it a couple years later, but we still crush with those ads. In fact, that ad, it pretty much performs just as good as Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah. So that's what we'll get into in a bit. Like I just want to emphasize that because you guys were pitching in Costco for all day, every day, and you're going on a road show and you're refining this pitch and you're refining the USPs. You're figuring out what to show and what to say. We've had multiple brands that have success doing this. Diff Eyewear started out going to like music festivals, right? Yeah. And they refined the pitch, and they even like figured out how to tweak the product or the packaging or whatever, right? CrossNet started out like, I don't know if you know what CrossNet is. They're like a 4-square volleyball. They started out like going down to the beach and playing, right? And they just put it up and play, and people would look and they'd be like, hey, do you want to play? Right? And they just like bring people into it. And they like over time started listening to what other people were saying they liked about it. And that's the ad messaging, right? And it's funny because Casey and I, we're interruptive advertisers, right? Like we're demand gen advertisers. That's what we are at our core. And while you're telling me that you were pitching in Costco, right? Like in my head, you were already using that demo as your ad in like 2017. So when you're telling me like, yeah, it was like 2019 Q4, we started figuring that out. I'm like, yeah, that was the ad all along. You know what I mean? And it still is. So yeah, let's get into 2020, because cookware, definitely something that benefited from the pandemic in terms of timing, right? But there are other industries too, like home fitness and stuff like that. And then we've seen in some of these industries, like a really big regression. So Peloton obviously has had like a huge regression. That's a huge public regression in 2021, right? And others. But you guys got this big boost from the pandemic, right? Like, and from figuring out what your actual ad formula that worked was, and making another big bet, because I mean, what we didn't cover is you guys had a big sales staff, right? Like April 2020, you guys had a big sales staff of people on salary who now couldn't go sell it. And you're like, we're just going to put money into ads and we're going to keep all these people employed, which is crazy, right? Like that's a tough bet, right? But you did it. And then now you're breaking through in 2020, and, a lot of brands are experiencing regression in 2021, but you guys aren't. So talk me through some of that. And the Gordon Ramsay partnership, I think, is part of it, right?
Yeah. So I'll do this, and then Jason, I'll give you more of the fluff, and then Jason gives you the meat.
Yeah.
but stay with 20, like all of a sudden we're like, for all we'd suffered and how hard we'd work, we're like, oh, we're here. 2019 was great. And we're going to do even better in 2020. And we're killing it at Costco, and we're doing well online. We're like getting it, but not like Costco, we're shooting fish.
You've refined that. Yeah.
We refined it and it's running great. And then March, Costco shuts down the roadshow. So we have all this inventory that we have ordered for Costco, thousands of sets of cookware per month. We have about 50 sales reps. And by the way, the one thing is, they were independent contractors at that point because they wanted to be commission only, and they made a lot of money. And the thing was, now there's no way to make a commission. And Cole and I were like, what are we going to do? Well, we're like, we got all this inventory. We're figuring out online. And we're like, we said to each other, we go, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to take salaries, and for however long we can't. We're going to dump every penny we can into, we're like, fuck the budgets. We're going to all the cash we have available is going into paid social. And I want to say it because this was our belief in it, not to like go look at what a good guy I am. It's not about that. But all 50 guys, we called all of them, and they were all scared that they're not, we hired everybody full time. We're like, you all work for the company now. We gave everybody health insurance if they didn't have it. And they all agreed, like we'll do customer service for you. We'll do whatever you need, because they're all sitting at home getting paid. And by the way, like almost every one of those people are still with us. Nobody's quit and love us because of that.
Right.
And what happened was in April, and this was when Jason was kind of starting his soft launch with us, all of a sudden it exploded. Like we sold maybe 5 or 6 times what we sold in March online in April. And we were here 7 days a week, packing boxes, driving the forklift, doing whatever we had to do to meet the demand.
In a much smaller warehouse, doing all the fulfillment, where it's like blocking the streets of LA to load FedEx trucks.
Like we stole the police barricade things from downtown and drove them over, and we're putting up fake barricades so we can stage for FedEx to come in the middle of the
They were loading out in the middle of the street. Yeah.
That's crazy. Cool. So yeah, like it kind of, you got this rocket booster 2020, you know, timing and moving your money into the right spot, which, and I do want to emphasize, like you said earlier, hindsight, all of us in e-commerce know, hey, April 2020, that was a great time to scale, right? We called it stimmy season. But like the at the time you didn't know that, right? Like you didn't have hindsight then, right? So it was a big bet, like again, right? But 2020, so a lot of that momentum carried throughout 2020. And so talking about 2021, so many brands experienced a regression because of demand planning issues, right? So we had, you know, boats in LA Harbor, like sitting, you know, just sitting there with inventory. People couldn't get their stuff. Prices of crates were going up. So, and we don't know how to demand plan now. So many of these like brands that like really boomed in 20, demand plan really heavy in 2021, right? Like this has happened with a bunch of brands we worked at. They really put in some really big POs in 2021. And then some things started going back, like people started being able to travel a little bit again, that we're competing for more wallet share in e-commerce, or competing with more things for wallet share, as is normal in e-commerce. And also in, you know, probably May or June, April, iOS 14 hits, you know, so if you guys are really big on paid social, right? iOS 14 hits in April, and it really starts hurting and taking effect on the platform in May/June. So yeah, talk me through that. Like, how did you guys navigate 2020 and continue to have good growth? Because you did, right? Like you didn't, a lot of these brands had regression or just way undergrew their projection, which puts you in a difficult cash situation to far undergrow your projection. Yeah, how did you guys manage that year?
You know, there's a lot of luck and to go with the skill.
Yeah.
You know, right? It's like the harder you work, the luckier you get. It's a phrase I like to use a lot. And, you know, going back to 2020 a little bit, you could see, you know, like it was very hard to do poorly, right? Like April, May. In fact, our biggest problem was that we sold everything in April. By mid-May, we were almost out.
Yeah.
I mean, in 2020, it was crazy, right? So we were trying to source more product to sell more, right? And then you had the election in 2020, and you could see CPMs going up and just CAC going up. And there was a couple of months like September and October, which we were like, well, we actually, now we need to focus and we need to get good at this, right? Like anyone could have been good in April, May, June. It's like, all right, so how do we get good at this? And we really kind of, we really focused. And then, November, the holiday season, we feel like a lot of the seeds that we planted in our marketing, in our paid social, when costs were high, we just killed it, right? And and then rolling into 2021, it's like, we were having this fun conversation with a British chef, Gordon.
Yeah.
And it was one of, and those kinds of conversations, they take a while, but, we felt really good about the dialogue we were having and how complimentary we were. And so, we just we got better and got more efficient in 2021 and early 2021, knowing that at some point we were going to go rocket booster number 2 was Gordon. Right. And so, that's really what we did. And our spend, at the same time we're working on Gordon, we're trying to get better. And I think it went until 2022, early 2022, like just like January of this year, where it's like, okay, we really have this dialed in now. Gordon's been with us for a while, and we're seeing that in our numbers now, like our efficiency, where other brands are suffering and just spending, we are able to toe the line. Like, we're not going to spend it unless we're getting this, right? We've got MER targets. And so we're really disciplined about it. And it comes from the beginning, Danny and Cole putting in their own money, never raising any outside capital. We try to be, extremely thoughtful about our goals and how we spend our money. And we're just, it's a constant learning process. We're getting, it's fun at this point at our ages, right? Thinking that we're gonna just like totally learn something new. I never thought I would. And, we're in our 50s. Sorry, Danny.
You son of a bitch.
We're in our, we're in our 50s and we're dealing with all these young hot shots, 25 to 33 in ecom. But like, there's a little bit of that age factor that helps us.
Yeah.
I think, you do gain a little bit of wisdom as you get older. So what we managed to do actually is create sort of a best of breed team, not in-house actually. We have some great people in-house. We like to leverage the expertise of agencies and we manage them well. We have a lot of fun with them too. Like we want to work with people that are obsessed with our mission. And so I think that's been huge for us, like really, and we cycled through some better and worse, but we've gotten to this point where it's like, people want to hang around Hexclad because we're successful and it's fun. And so we're just like, now we're just sort of getting incrementally better. And just the last thing about the what you said about people over ordering and stock and all that, this is another one where we got a little bit lucky. We did order a lot in Q1 of last year, but when supply chain got crazy in September, we were glad that we over ordered.
On that point, I would say this, and this, like, I'll tell you, as a CEO, how you're going to get fired by me is if we have to run an ad saying the knife or pan that's sold out 6 times, my ordering manager, you can screw up once and not do your proper projections in ordering. If you're always under ordering or you don't tell me we got to get additional funding, I'm like, that to me is just bad planning on a company's part. And it doesn't give me confidence in buying the product because it's sold out a bunch of times. It just tells me that you didn't have the funding to order enough or the wherewithal to see your projections through.
Yeah. Well, I mean, demand planning was hard for those 2 years, but it sounds like it worked out pretty well for you guys. So I do want to hit on something you just said, because one of the things that we pretty commonly talk through on these Building Brand series is agencies versus in-house. You guys, you don't share your numbers publicly, but I will put it this way, knowing, at least having some insight into your numbers, you guys are at a level of growth where other brands we've talked to at a similar level of growth have said, hey, at that level, it really makes a lot of sense to just build the team in-house as much as possible and not use agency partners as much. It sounds like you guys still do leverage the expertise of agency partners. Now, obviously, Casey and I are agency guys. We're a little biased, right? But I'm interested in, how do you distinguish between like, hey, this is something that we can use a vendor or partner to do, or this is something that we should have this core competency in-house?
I think the ecom landscape and like you mentioned, the iOS changes and the rise of TikTok now and everything else. It's like, I think if you're in-house, you're just not exposed to enough. You have to really try very hard to get that information and knowledge. And so you just have to be really careful that way. And so we're just like having, I think of agencies not as agencies, but as experts, right? So we're the generalists and we bring in the experts, and it's worked well for us. There are a lot of good people out there, and they want to work on multiple brands because it's exciting for them, and that's how you learn, right? So I just think that bringing the team in-house, if you do that, you've got to be super careful, and we just haven't found the right people, and we will eventually, but what we're doing now is working.
And if it makes sense, because like one group that was pitching us on working with them, they're like, okay, we're going to do an audit of something. I don't even remember what they were auditing. And we have somebody who works very closely for us, who's an agent, but he's like kind of like our main advisor. And he's like, if I'd heard this audit 6 months ago, it would have been relevant, but it's not anymore. And that's how fast it's moving. And, you know, and kind of our feeling is like, wow, even if we find this great talent and they're just focused on us, and if they're busy enough that maybe they're not getting the opportunity to interact with the community that they know, that they are falling a little bit behind because things are moving so quickly. And then the other thing is, look, it's about talent, you know, and you know, if you're talented and you want to, you know, run your own show, you're going to start your own agency. And I hope that we're a good enough client to work with that they want to be as involved as possible. And it's usually the case. They become very passionate about our brand. And you can tell when people are full of shit and when they're not. When these guys are like, I love your brand. I love working with you guys. Every agency we've ever worked with has had that attitude. We treat them well. We treat them with respect. We honor them for their successes, and we work with them to improve any deficiencies.
Right.
But I think it's finding that nice mixture of in-house being supported by really strong agency work. I think that's probably the perfect model right now. It is for us.
Even like really great e-com businesses like Ridge Wallet, for example, who we love, you know, we know the team there. They've got an incredible in-house team. They lean on tons of agencies too, I think. You know.
Yeah, they lean on creative, and I do have some insight. Yeah, they lean on creative agencies, right? So creative is one of those things, especially if you're heavy paid social, where it's like, you know, why not source some creative from these guys, and see, right? Because we do need a wide diversity. Yeah, so it's exactly. And I spoke with someone from Purple, right, which is obviously a big case study in e-commerce growth. And one of the things he said yesterday is he's like, I mean, the biggest thing it made me realize is like, we had in-house people, we had agencies, we had everything. It takes a village to do what we did, you know, like, so yeah, to like really grow something. I think it's a combination, and what I always say is like, you know, putting aside my agency bias, there are pros and cons for sure, you know, but it is it ever like, it's kind of an amoebus thing, right? For the business of like, what's the right push and pull at any given time. But yeah, it seems like you guys have a good mindset on it. I do want to be cognizant of time. There's some stuff that, you know, I still want to hit on. So as of right now, 2022, April, I know you guys are doing, you know, experiencing great, like your, you know, YOY growth and efficiency. What do you think are some things that you're doing really well, you know, and if you can break it down as, you know, tactically the show's kind of focused on marketing and growth, but if you can break it down tactically, great. If not, you know, just some things generally that's helping you a ton, like right now today. And what are some things that you don't feel like you're doing very well, or you feel like you need to improve, or whatever you need to crack? Some people are like, you know, we're not really leveraging TikTok, you know, we need to crack that, or whatever it is. What's kind of like the, you know, here's what's working super well for us. If you want to go try that, here's what we're not doing well that we're, you know, but we think we need to improve on it.
I think we'll both have like some answers to that question, but I would say one thing we weren't doing well, say if we talked 1 year ago, is the consistency of our messaging was not always great. And it really came down to, we were doing so well that it was hard to really focus like that. We want people to understand always what we stand for and what they're getting when they engage with Hexclad. Yeah. And we were able to kind of cover that up because we had such a good product, such good word of mouth. We also like, look, it helped. We were not paying anybody to promote our product. The most we ever did was give somebody a free pan. So like, it really helped us when all of a sudden during the pandemic, every celebrity is now a chef, and I'm going to do my own cooking show. And Halle Berry's using our cookware. We didn't even know, we didn't even send her a pan. She bought it. And Cameron Diaz is cooking with our cookware, and Ava Longoria and Courtney Cox is cooking on her show with our cookware. And Halle Bieber, she can only make mac and cheese out of a box, but she's doing it in our pans.
She looks good doing it.
She does look good doing it. But like, all these people are using our cookware, Kourtney Kardashian, like, and we didn't pay anybody to use this stuff online. And so like, that gives you some credibility that people are seeing it, and that these people are getting everything for free, but they're choosing to use our and they're reaching out like, hey, can I get more? I love this. And you know, and we didn't pay anyone a dime. And that's like kind of where I'll go into, because we touched briefly on it, but I will flesh it out a touch more. Towards the end of the summer in 2020, the guy who ran our social media calls me up and he goes, you know, Gordon Ramsay's following us on Instagram. I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. World's biggest chef. He's like, should I DM and see if, you know, they want a pan or whatever? Next thing you know, he's on with Gordon's assistant. He's like, I think Gordon has one of your pans and likes it. And do you want some more? Yeah, send over a few pans. Cut to a week later, we're on a phone call with Gordon's lawyer and agent in England. And he's like, Gordon loves your pans. A chef friend of his gave him one. He loves them. He doesn't do deals. Like you can hire him for a commercial, but he really doesn't do these partnerships. Very, very rarely. And we started talking. He wants to be involved. Like he wants to have input into design. He wants, you know, strategy. And he really didn't want, say, give him 500 grand for a day of filming. He wanted to be involved. And this really spoke a lot to our brand and our product. And when we got maybe a month later, we had a Zoom call planned, and I had penciled like 20 minutes for this. So it's just the two of us, Gordon and his lawyer. And we get on the phone, and obviously Gordon likes to talk, and I don't mind talking either. And the two of us are like going at each other, but it's like, he's like, in my restaurant, we're going to make risotto tableside in this pan. And he's holding our pan up. And he's like, we're going to do this. And I'm going to put it on my restaurants. And then he's like, walks around. He's giving us a tour of his house. He's like, that's my son, Oscar, as he goes on the computer and into the kitchen and pointing out everything. We were on the phone for an hour and a half, and it worked. And
it was genuine.
It was genuine. And he was passionate about it. And we didn't pay him any money up front. He's like, I want to invest in this and be part of this. And he's a partner. And he does a lot for us. Like we did a soft launch in the UK in February. He threw it in his cooking academy. He took half the day off to be there to meet with the press, cooked with everybody. We taught a cooking class. We're going to start sharing some of that footage soon. So that type of stuff, like, you know, the trolls will be like, oh, look at Gordon, the sellout. Not a sellout. He wanted to be involved in something he believed in, and, you know, and he's giving value for money, really, in a way. And I think that type of thing, that strong base is what gave us the ability to overcome some weaknesses in our messaging at times. So we could get really clear on that in Q4 of last year. And that's really what we've been working on. So, sorry, I went off on the Gordon tangent.
It's true. It's just that, you know, we've heard it, you know, other agencies have come in and said, no, you know, your product is amazing. You've got like the best product spokesperson on the planet, but your messaging isn't consistent, your packaging, your information. So we completely overhauled our packaging. It's like, it's going to look incredible, you know, like an iPhone experience, you know, really elevating the brand. I mean, what we're doing is, you know, we're not a cookware company anymore. We're a best-in-class consumer brand. That's what we're building. And so to do that, you have to be consistent in every way you touch the customer, you know, at an elevated level. And then, you know, the last thing I'd say about doing well is that, you know, we are trying to be a little less focused just on returns and marketing efficiency. And because that's kind of like the ROAS drug, right? But you know, we're willing to say, okay, we know we have we're a profitable company, you know, we're a 9-figure business, and we're growing, you know, fast, you know, at our size, faster than I would have ever thought. But, you know, in order to get better, and we need to we're taking a few bets in terms of content and on our brand now, but within the level of tolerance that I, as a finance guy, you know, will be like, okay, I think we can take this band.
Not like Danny tolerance, where he's like, retirement.
We can take this band and spend it. Sorry, Danny and Cole, you know, we're not going to have that one to spend. I'm going to go spend that over here, you know, and, you know, it's working because, you know, we're, I mean, our Q1 numbers are, I mean, we're really scratching our heads, and we're just, you know, we're thrilled with it. And, you know, you're always like, okay, we got to keep it going.
Like
But
we're up 100% this month over April of last year.
yeah,
Which is, you know, obviously we did our projections for the year, so we're pretty happy.
Yeah, definitely good pace.
yeah. Q1 was high double digits, and you know, the fact that we're over 100 for April already, and the month's not over, is just like, all right, it's all good.
So I'm going to ask you an interesting question here, and this is what we'll leave with, right? So we kind of do a parting shot, or so, like, you know, if we're going to sum up, how do we sum it up? So imagine, you know, like you step into an elevator, you got probably, you know, 30 seconds to ride up, and somebody knows who you are, or has heard of the brand. You know, they find out, oh, you're the president of Hexclad, or the co-founder of Hexclad. Like, what have you learned growing this brand that, like, you could, like, what's the most important thing you've learned growing this brand that you would tell me if I were, you know, also wanting to grow an e-commerce brand?
I got one, but do you want to do yours first?
Okay, and this was even kind of in a sports analogy, because it really kind of fit. Yeah. I was I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, and you know, Marv Levy, the old coach when I was a kid, almost, you know, the great Super Bowl years, he had all these great sayings. You know, he was like an English literature major in Harvard. But he said, it's real simple. He goes, be able to play in any condition. And it just sounds so simple, but he's like, it means in the rain, on AstroTurf, on natural grass, night game, cold game, Miami Heat in September. And this comes through preparation and the ability to be nimble and admit that this isn't working. Because the thing is, like, the cemetery of companies littered with people that like hitch themselves to a strategy or a product or something way too long.
Yep. And
I think you need to be always aware of that. And Jason, when he came out, brought this up with two things. He's like, you got to be, he's like, we're reactive too often, but he goes, we're good at being reactive. We're one of those companies that reacts well, but the way we up our game is being proactive. And now we got to spend as much time fixing problems. We got to spend as much time preparing to avoid those problems and those pitfalls going forward.
Yeah, sounds like a finance guy.
I'm going to leave it at that. Danny took care of it.
Love it. Well, yeah, thank you guys so much for being on. Loved hearing about Hexclad. Loved hearing your growth story. Yeah, Casey, say the YouTube stuff. Take us out.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us today. John, thank you for being here and leading this interview. I love just sitting back and listening to this. This is great stuff. Modern Commerce, thank you for joining us. If you've made it this far into the video, hopefully you liked it. So go ahead and hit the like button, obliterate the like button, smash the like button, whatever the kids say these days. Hit the subscribe button so that you are subscribed to the channel. Hit the bell icon to get notifications about whenever we drop new videos on the channel. And as always, until next time, we'll see you.